Okay, James, you can go ahead.
Wonderful. So to confirm, we do have quorum?
Yes, we do.
Very good. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. So please respond when I say your name. David McNeil. Joanne Tober. Councillor Carpenter. Trevor Rumble. Rob Davis. Michael Bennon. James Popham.
Present.
James Yahus.
Present.
Connie McKnight. John O'Neill. Peter Zota.
Present.
Mayor Davis.
Present.
Colleen Goopley.
Present.
Terry Skorick.
Present.
Heather McDonald.
Present.
Kim Baker.
Present.
Heidi Northwood.
Present.
Flora Ennis.
Present.
Yes, we do have quorum. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So I'll just open with our opening comments here. I'd like to remind everyone that the advisory committee members of a few procedural rules as we go into our virtual meeting to assist the meeting in operating as efficiently as possible. All members will be muted for the meeting to reduce feedback. All web cameras for members shall be turned on. Staff will be requested to join the video meeting should the need to answer questions of members arise. Any member should indicate they wish to speak by pressing the raise hand button on the participant list screen, which is in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or by pressing *9 if you're on if you're teleconferencing. Sorry. Clerks will lower your hand when you have been recognized by the chair for your speaking opportunity. In the event of a connection or service interruption that may affect the quorum of the advisory committee, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, the meeting will be adjourned. Voting will be conducted through general consensus. I will ask that all in favor raise their hand for the camera. Any member who opposes a motion is to raise their hand for the camera and then verbally confirm their objection. Finally, thank you for your patience as we navigate through the electronic pathway. So I'll move on to section 2 here, declaration of conflicts of interest. Members, are there any other pecuniary interests to declare on items appearing on the agenda? None observed. Okay, thank you very much. I'll move forward then to section 3, delegations. I do not believe that we have any delegations this afternoon. So we'll move on to section 4, items for consideration. So the advisory committee will now move on to the items of consideration, starting with item 4.1. And I believe that Brad is here to present item 4.1 for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brad Smith. I believe I know everybody here. We've all met. So I'm going to try and figure out how to share my screen here. Somebody just share, confirm that you can see that screen there for me. Oh, I'm getting thumbs up. Excellent. So what I'm going to do today is take a quick run through the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. As presented to you, it was in your agenda packages, so hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. I'll give a brief overview. I won't go into every little detail because I already will talk way longer than I'm supposed to, so keep it to a reasonable amount of time for you. To summarize what happened after our last meeting, at the last meeting we approved our priorities and actions as drafted. We took those to council. Council approved those as well. So what we've done since then is build out the rest of the plan. So where you saw before was just some one-pagers with the priorities and the actions that we planned on taking. What we have now is an entire plan built around those. So first of all, I'd like to tell everybody I really appreciate the help that's went into all this from everybody on this committee. It's been great. COVID has really thrown a wrench into plans here, the pandemic, as with everything. However, I would think when the province mandated municipalities to build community plans based on community input and community work, they weren't planning on locking everybody in their houses for a year. So we're we had to adapt things. I do think we did a great job at that, to be honest with you. This plan is absolutely reflective of all the consultations that we were able to still conduct through different methods. Obviously, we weren't able to do things how originally intended. We were able to get plenty of input from the advisory committee, so that's why I really appreciate the work that we did here. We were able to consult both pre and post COVID. The first ones we were all face to face, and after that it was all phone calls. So I appreciate everybody, the input we were able to have from that. We were able to collect lots of local data. I never had problems. Every time I needed information from people, you were all very quick to get it back to me, so appreciate that as well. And we also used the Let's Talk Brantford engagement platform. So this is an online tool. We're able to get feedback from the community as well. So again, not ideal overall. Ideal would have been face-to-face consultations out in the community, but we did do the adaptations, and I do think we've certainly met the obligations that we need to under the legislation for those consultations and community input into the plan. So I'll do a quick walkthrough of the plan with you all. We do have a few changes that we flagged. I, again, appreciate all the input we got. I was in contact with people, specific sections throughout the development of the plan, so appreciate that. Most of it got in there. There were a few changes after we sent this out based on some feedback, so we flagged those today so that when we approve this plan today, those changes are flagged that they'll be made following the meeting here. So table of contents. This is the your name, make sure everybody gets the credit for the plan. Please take a look and make sure your name is spelled properly and in your title there as well. Not everybody's lucky enough to be Brad Smith. That's a pretty easy lot in life I've been given. I never have to spell my name for people, but for those of you who might struggle with that a little bit more, please double check for me. The flag we have in here is we are going to be adding a page with some opening comments from the mayor, the general manager of our department, as well as the chair. Those comments aren't finalized yet. We did have a placeholder page, but it just looked more confusing than not to leave it in at this point. But we do want to flag that we are going to be inserting a page there with some opening comments. Introduction to the plan. So this is just a quick summary. The important quote there is highlighted that ultimately this plan will serve as a guide for both the city and their partners to cultivate a Brantford that continues to be a great place to live, work, learn, and play. This plan, as we've continued to build it and continue to work on it for the last few years, really is much more of a community development plan, much more of a community building plan than that harsher word of safety. There is a lot of safety components to this, but certainly that last part there, that Brantford is a great place to live, work, learn, and play, is really what this plan contributes to. So why develop a community safety plan? Safety and well-being plan. This is really just reflective of that legislation. These do have to be submitted into the province by July 1st of this year. So we're just doing our due diligence there to make sure we're tipping our hat to the province and the legislation that's mandated these plans. So the role of the city in these plans, so this is a municipal plan that's been informed through community input there, but different roles that the city is going to play with the different actions of this plan. Some of those actions, the city is going to be taking the lead on those. Some of them, the city is better poised to be more advocate for those roles, and some of them to support the groups that are already doing those roles. We have some groups that are better off to do actions than necessarily the city is. So what we want to do there is make sure our role is to come alongside and support those. So where do the priorities come from? Well, basically 4 main areas that we pulled information to get the priorities that we built. One being the council established priorities that we have. Another one being alignment with our complementary community plans and strategies that we have. So that's stuff like the drug strategy, age-friendly strategy, youth strategy. Review of community data. So that's that hard stats and information that we can dig up from different sources. Again, thank you for everybody who got me that information. And the community consultations that we did. And we touched on that we did have to adapt quite a bit because of COVID, but I think we did a great job at still meeting that. I'll mention now as well, I'm part of a Canadian Municipal Network on Crime Prevention. We have an Ontario subgroup that specifically has been talking about these plans. We've been meeting at least once a month for about the last year to kind of compare notes. And to be honest with you, our plan is, we're doing excellent. I think we've done a great job when we look where we're at with everybody else. In terms of what we had to do to adapt our community consultations, I think we've done a great job when we look at what other municipalities have done, we're certainly, I'd say above par, but I don't want to hurt the feelings of my colleagues from other municipalities as well. So to break down that kind of where did we get that information from? Council priorities, this is just a list of the relevant council priorities that help feed information into the plan. These other community strategies and corporate plans, these were important for a few reasons. One, we relied on a lot of the consultation information that was developed in these plans. You can see in the bottom paragraph there, these plans are representative of 4,500 residents from consultations over the years. So we were able to pull out a lot of that information, as well as rely on these plans in some other places as well. And you'll see more of that later on, that these plans do have a lot of action already associated with them. And we're able to kind of lean on that instead of having to identify hundreds of actions necessarily in our plan. We can rely on the actions that already exist within some of these plans. The community consultations, we talk here about the consultations that we completed, the safety perception survey that Dr. Popham completed for us, the Let's Talk Brantford campaign. And there's also, again, a bit of a nod here towards the ongoing engagement with our stakeholders that we're going to have in the future of this as well. So we'll talk more about it at the end, but we're not done kind of the actual action of these plans. So we do want to make sure that those consultations are an ongoing thing and continuing to inform the plan as we move forward with it. And a list of a few of the sources we were able to grab for some of that community data, some of the broader sources, Stats Canada, Brant County Health Unit, Public Health Ontario, et cetera there. So the actual priorities that we have in the plan, we have them listed here. I got another flag there that older adults, this is supposed to be alphabetical order. We changed this from age-friendly to older adults just because we didn't want the confusion with the age-friendly plan as well. So we changed it to older adults, but we didn't change the alphabetical ordering here. So we flagged this that we are going to move this into alphabetical order. You'll see it's reflected in the next part, but not here. So the actual priorities and actions that we have here, I'm not going to go through every one of them just because, again, I'm already going to take way more of the time than I should. So if you let me go through all of them, I'll have you here all day. But first one here is the affordable housing priority. And this is where I'm going to use an example of where we're relying a little bit on those plans that already exist. So action one here is the implement the recommendations of the Mayor's Housing Partnership Task Force. So this task force just put together a report and an action plan a few months ago, late last year or early this year, where they outlined 34 different actions to help aid in the creation of more housing options within the city and the county. There's no sense in us listing another 34 in here and creating a housing action plan 2.0. So what we've done here is relied a little bit on the plans that existed, say the actions are embedded within that plan. And what we're going to do here is support those plans in their development and moving forward in implementation. Children and youth is another priority that we have. So we range here from programs that have been running for years now, like the Healthy Kids program, where we want to continue to expand that program, continue the work that's being done there. We go right down to develop and launch a youth violence prevention initiative, which would be a new program that we're putting into place. So we, again, hit that whole range of programs that we've already been running and continuing to expand on those down to new programs we wanted to put into place and work with our partners to build out. Another one in here I'll draw quick attention to is the update the Together for Youth Coordinated Youth Service Strategy. So this is our youth strategy that we have. It was developed in 2015. So some of the youth who would have informed this plan are no longer youth. So it's probably due for a refresh. So what we have in here is one of our actions that we'll do is update that plan, again, working together with our partners. Diversity and inclusion. So this one relies a little bit on our BIP, our Brantford Immigration Partnership, newly established group. Lots haven't changed. There are two that I want to just draw some attention to. One is the develop a diversity and inclusion plan. So we looked at what it would take to join the UNESCO Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities. And we wanted to kind of make that an action that we could have is trying to gain that. Step one of that is to develop a diversity and inclusion plan. So this is a good example of an action that we're going to see kind of moving, changing a little bit as we continue on. Hopefully within the first few years, we can tick that box off of, of developing a diversity and inclusion plan and move that action much more into joining that UNESCO Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities, where there's designation, resources, and the networking you get available with those kind of groups. The other one I want to mention is the creating a welcoming community for international students. So when I did my consultations with both Conestoga and Laurier both had mentioned a lot about the international students and the number increasing in the next years, and we wanted to have some attention to that. When speaking with Heidi, they've launched a great new program to continue to support those people. So we get to put a nice check mark next to that one already, that we're already working with some partners to get that moving forward. So that's something we definitely want to draw attention to, is that population increases, the programs that we're supporting within the community are helping meet that goal. Older adults was age friendly. So right off the bat, we have updating the age friendly plan. Same kind of boat the youth plan was in, where it's due for a refresh. So that's something we can certainly include in this plan, is updating that. Again, this one relies a lot on some of those groups that are already in the community. So the 4.4 there is supporting right now a community strategy to prevent and address elder abuse. 13 recommendations and 14 actions in that plan. We don't need to rewrite those into this plan when those exist, and that's a community group we can continue to support as they try and meet those actions. So have that there. Safe and vibrant neighborhoods. So we have another flag here. So under improved municipal capacity for bylaw enforcement, we're going to add in the downtown Brantford security program that's happened. When we first wrote this, that plan I think was still being proposed, and then it was a pilot, so we didn't change it. At this point, I believe it's going to continue on for a bit longer, enough that we can certainly include it in this plan. So we're just going to make some tweaks there to make sure that we, not just the capacity for bylaw enforcement, but also for downtown security. Some information here about the neighborhood associations, which is a good program. One that came in here as a result of the Let's Talk Brantford consultations that we did was promote community connection and use of green space. This is something we've heard a lot of different ways about connecting the use that we have with green space, even into some of those other plans. So some alignment with the age-friendly plan and the Parks and Rec plan in making green spaces and parks more age-friendly. Also a lot of talk about community gardens, parks and trails, and how we utilize those spaces. So that's something we want to include here. There might be a nice alignment there with some of those neighborhood associations and the work that's being done there. So we definitely we heard it enough from the community consultation that we wanted to make it its own action, that we're promoting that community connection using those spaces. But it will align with some of the work that's already being done and recognized within the actions here. And the last one, substance use. There's a few flags on here. So the first flag is increase the availability of supportive housing. We're actually going to move this action into the affordable housing priority. And the reason for that is supportive housing is much more than just addressing substance use. It addresses physical and mental disability or health concerns, substance use as well, housing. It addresses a lot more things than just substance use, and to just plug it under the substance use heading kind of pigeonholes that one. So we want to make sure that's expanded. There's a lot of work being done in terms of increasing the availability of supportive housing and creating more spaces in supportive housing. However, it's not all substance use, so it wasn't the appropriate place to put it. So after talking to some of our partners and here we just decided the better place to do that would have it under supportive housing. The enhanced service connection, similarly. So this one is talking about much more aligning the services we have so that we can get those nice referrals made, this warm handoffs, connecting people to the right service at the right time and enhancing those connections that we have. Again, not just a substance use concern that we have. So what we want to do there is move that into the safe and vibrant neighborhoods priority. I could really put it just about anywhere, but I think that's the one that can kind of catch everything. We're also going to make a reference in there into the new a new program being done through the city's housing department, which is an outreach worker that works at the library. So with the library being used as a bit of a drop-in center, they have an outreach worker right there at the library now that's able to help with those warm handoffs, get them connected to the right, get people connected to the right services, that's sitting right there in the community, in a community space. So it's a great program, great example of what we want to do to enhance the service connections. So we're going to use that example in here. And the last flag we have on here is the advocate to other levels of government. So for the most part, we've avoided naming specific groups or agencies within the plan because we still want to develop out some of these actions further. We are going to name some in here. So if you read this one, it says, we're going to explore opportunities to support community efforts through ongoing advocacy. We're going to name two of those community efforts. So one is the Ontario Health Team and the other one is the Drug Strategy Committee, which sorry, Kim, I know I just said that wrong. It's not Brantford Brant Drug Strategy Committee, I believe. I'll properly reference it in the document, but we are going to name them specifically because those are two that are directly related to substance use that we do want to make sure we're coming along and supporting. So yeah, so that is going to be the change there. We do just name two groups. There could be plenty more to name in there, but those are two we specifically want to make sure we're drawing the dotted line there between what this plan is doing, what the city can be doing, to what's happening in the community as well. So the last page here is the evaluation, governance, and reporting. So within the first year of this project is where a lot of this evaluation framework is going to take place. So we need to build out evaluations for both each of those actions in there. So how are we measuring success on each of those actions, as well as much more population or higher level across the entire plan. So how are we measuring success of this entire plan? We're going to spend some time in the first year doing that. We really went back and forth on this. And again, talking to that municipal network that I sit on across Ontario, this seems to be the approach a lot of people are taking. If we had another 6 months or a year like we thought we might have originally, we could build this out further. We could have a list of indicators and KPIs in there and how we're going to measure it and who's going to measure it. However, at this point, we could throw a list in there, but that first update that we ever bring back to people is going to be, here's why we're changing most of those indicators. So what we've done is we decided to leave them out now and make that kind of the first priority that we do as we continue to look at this plan, is building out that evaluation framework. We've mentioned in here, we're going to be working with Wilfrid Laurier University, as well as the Brant County Health Unit. Experts on evaluation, keepers of the data. So we certainly want to make sure we're working with those groups. They're not the only ones. I think everybody's going to be involved with that, where we can pull in the right subject matter experts for us. So that's our evaluation piece for right now. Like I said, that'll definitely be built out in the first year of this plan. The governance of this plan. So as I mentioned, this is a city plan. So the oversight and direction that we're going to have does come from City Council. This committee has been great. It's been fantastic working with everybody, but at a certain point, we do need to submit this to Council and have them take the lead on that. That doesn't get anybody off the hook, by the way. So in case you're wondering if you're ever going to hear from me again, you certainly will, because as we develop these actions and plans, we're going to be needing those partners to work for them. So as we're taking information and feedback to Council for that governance and direction, we're going to make sure that's informed by the partners that help develop this plan in the first place. So we'll certainly still be in touch with you. We want to make sure your input is given back, as well as with community at large. So we're still going to be continuing on with a lot of engagement using that Let's Talk tool. When we get back to face-to-face, which I hope is sooner than later, we'll be able to start doing some more kind of town hall or forum style meetings with the community, and again, making sure that community feedback is in there, as well as the information from our partners. And the last part on there is the reporting. So this is going to be done a couple different ways. One, there's going to be at least an annual report going to Council that kind of covers the whole plan. And that first one's going to be right full of measurement, KPI, and evaluation for them. So that's going to happen. Because the whole community doesn't love reading Council reports, we're also going to be making sure this is formatted in a way that everybody can digest that, and everybody can understand. The whole entire community is going to be able to understand the work that's being done, the great successes that the plan is having, and how the actions are being implemented across the city. The other part of that is we're going to be happy to come and do presentations to our stakeholders. So any boards, your staff, any local community groups that any way will help feed into this plan. I'm certainly going to be able to go around, do a little presentation for everybody, and make sure that feedback is being received. Because as this plan does develop and we continue on building it over the years, we want to make sure that input is all coming from all those sources. So we're getting the information from Council, our community partners, and the community at large. So any way we can find that, that's fantastic. So that's kind of the overview of the plan. What we're looking for today is an endorsement of this plan so we can take this forward to Council. It'll be going on June 1st is the plan for the first report to go to Council. That'll be finalized through the June Council reporting cycle. So by the end of June, and we will meet our July 1st deadline. So I'm not sure where every other municipality is, but I know some will not be meeting the July 1st deadline, but it looks like we'll be able to. So that's another feather in our cap here. As I said, when talking with them, I think we've done a great plan under the circumstances. Community plans weren't meant to be done from my basement where this one's been done, but it's been a great success anyway. And so I really appreciate, again, all the effort that's went into this, all the help that everybody's been able to give me throughout this and finding that information. And Mr. Chair, with that, I'll turn it back to you for any questions.
Thank you, Brad. And in a moment, I'll address your concluding remarks there a little bit further. But before we get to that point, is there any discussion on item 4.1? I believe we might have some people who are present by phone, but I'm not seeing or hearing from them. And I don't see any comments at this point. As we don't have any motions, I'll move on then to I'll move on to
Mr. Chair.
Sorry to interrupt. There actually are some hands up here in
Oh.
the panel, just virtually. They're virtual hands up. So if you just open up your participant panel, you can see the hands that are up there for you.
Okay. My
Thank you, Mr.
apologies.
Chair. No worries.
So I'm sorry I've missed the order. I think I'll just go in the order that they appeared to me. So I'll start with Councillor Carpenter, please.
Thank you. And nice, well, good presentation, nice plan. I think it's a great idea that you're going to go around and speak to the groups too. I think that will go a long ways, speaking to the groups to know that they've been heard and how they can interact with the plan and how they can participate. I think that will create excitement and energy for those groups. I know certainly my group, the Elder Awareness Abuse Prevention Committee, will certainly is excited the fact that we're part of the plan and that we're being recognized, and the services, the support of the city to all those organizations is very important too. So thank you very much for the plan. I think we're on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next up in my list was Peter Zota with Grand River Community Health Center.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Brad used the term feather in the cap, and if you're looking for a point of celebration to infuse into this report, like the Brantford Downtown Outreach Team and St. Leonard's leadership on that and its partnership with Grand River and having it been built on the city-funded pilot, I think is a huge point of worthy of celebration, if you think there's a place for it in this report.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, actually, I stumbled over that section of my notes where I mentioned we were going to talk about the library outreach worker, part of that connection, the enhanced service connections. We're going to mention the connection with the Brantford Downtown Outreach team as well. So yes, that will be in there as well. I think it's a great example of how these I hate to use the word synergies, but synergies have been able to develop into great programming. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Peter. Any further comment there? No? Wonderful. Okay, next up I have Heidi Northwood from Wilfrid Laurier University.
Thank you very much. I also would like to compliment the team for the work on this and all the partnerships. I think it's really fantastic. I have a question about 5.1, insofar as that section on the bylaw enforcement will be changed to reflect the new security team that's in the downtown. I wonder whether it would be useful or not, and it's fine, just something to put on the table, whether the coordination between that team and actually the security of Conestoga as well as the SCS at Laurier, whether that might be of interest to the group, simply because I know that in fact they do work quite closely and in fact have provided quite a lot of support to people in the downtown who have needed assistance because of particular circumstances that they've been experiencing and needing medical help. And it's in fact been one of the I think really positive, one of the many really positive things about having that kind of coordination in the downtown core. So I put that out for discussion. If it's going to be rewritten anyway, I submit that as a possible inclusion.
Thank you very much. Brad, is this something that can just be noted in the revisions, or is this something that we should do a motion on?
I believe we're okay as long as we're noting it, that would be a revision, but certainly you can mention about the drawing a blank, I'm gonna use the word synergy again, but that kind of coordination of all those downtown services being able to work together to help improve security in the downtown area. So
Yeah, I think that would be a wonderful addition to very briefly just give an idea of the constellation of services that are available downtown or in the city in general. Dr. Northwood, have you any other questions or follow-up?
The only thing that I would, and this isn't about the report, other than to say that when the attention is directed towards the diversity and inclusion plan, I know that we have some great people at Laurier who would be absolutely willing to have a conversation to talk about that, because the same sorts of things are happening at Laurier, and of course the County of Brant. I know that too. So happy to provide the support of Laurier if it's would be of any help at all.
Thank you very much. And I believe we have a hand up for the call-in user. I believe that this is Chief Rob Davis from the Brantford Police Service.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
So this was actually related to 5.1. Throughout the last budget process, I was pretty vocal about the need for a contingent of special constables under the umbrella of the police to work in harmony with the special constables at Laurier. So if this plan as it exists, where there was no mention of that, does this preclude the police service from pursuing that? Is this going to become the guiding document that, but just by the nature of how it's laid out now, I have no hope of introducing specials in year 2, year 3, year 4 of the plan.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe Aaron Wallace might have some more information on that, but I don't believe that'll preclude any applications you'd like to make towards that. I believe it'll be a document to speak to the security of the downtown, but not necessarily the final method that we'll be using to promote that security. But I see Aaron's turned on his camera, so I'll turn it over to him.
Yeah, through the chair, Aaron Wallace, I'm Director of Community Programs with the City of Brantford. Yeah, just to confirm Brad's answer there, this would not preclude any board reporting agency from bringing forward unmet needs or continuations of plans through the estimates process or otherwise. So you would, if at your discretion, at the police board's discretion, to continue to bring that forward for consideration.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Aaron and Brad. Chief Davis, do you have any follow-up questions or any further questions on that matter?
Nope, I'm good for now.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. Pardon me. So with that being said, I believe that there are no, there's one other hand raised. My apology. Mayor Davis.
Yeah, thanks very much, James. First of all, let me apologize that I wasn't able to get to the previous meeting, but many times being a mayor is like being a juggler and juggling so many things in so many meetings, but no indication anyway that of how important I believe having community safety and well-being plan is. So kind of two comments. I'm really quite glad that Peter raised that issue of the outreach team, because we did have that in place for about a year. It's been about 6 months since it was last active. And the city did fund it. It was about $250,000 for 1 year, but we were using casino proceeds. And of course, we haven't had any casino proceeds of any substance for well over a year now. So, I mean, that funding source has dried up. So we were approaching the provincial government to do as it's done in other communities, such as Guelph, where not necessarily funding at all, it does make a sizable contribution, given the province has, jurisdiction for health and mental health issues. So having it included or referred to might assist in further advocacy and lobbying efforts. That's a point I'd make on that. And in regards to the point made by Chief Davis, what's happened with that downtown security team, a fairly recent development, I suspect happened and really took off in January. And so it's probably was something that was happening, I'm going to guess, because I didn't write this, but something that happened and it really come to fruition. We weren't really seeing the impact until I suspect well after first and subsequent drafts of this report. But I agree with Chief Davis. I think it's going to be an important component of the downtown and surrounding neighborhood security effort in the future. Now that would likely morph into something cooperative between Laurier Security, some form of city security, because we have a number of properties downtown that we're in charge of and we have to better secure, which the security team focuses on. And then of course, some of the plans the chief has, he's hoping to roll out next year in terms of a dedicated downtown beat patrol. So I'm hoping we might be able to have something in there about that, because some of that may involve advocating to the provincial governments and also to our own police service board and council. So I can't on the top of my head think about what the wording should be, but you know, the chief does talk about a stratified, layered response to security issues in our downtown surrounding neighborhoods, and I think that would be useful to have that in there. Last comment I'd make is, yeah, very well prepared, well put together, but you know, I'd say this, that you know, about 90% of this reflects city priorities. So if I look at our priority list and listing and what we've done in the city, this is very much a reflection of that. And I think that's a reflection of the organization that prepares this. It'll have that kind of slant. It always will. For example, some of these safety plans are done by health units in some cities, and I'm sure that gives it a different slant or perspective, depending which organization is the lead in preparing it. So I'm hoping other organizations and other groups that are taking a look at this plan, think about your own organization and some of the things your organization is doing, because we got one last chance before we submit it to the province in July. Something that may be a priority for your organization that would be of relevance to the community safety and well-being. And if you think it's being missed, you know, please let us know so we can try and build it in, even though we're running out of time to do that, because the province has been insistent on that deadline and not extending it. So, but all that said, fine effort, Brad and the members of the committee to develop this. And I agree, Brad, I've seen some of the other safety plans in other communities, and you know, we never like to boast that we're the best, but you know, it's pretty good. But you know, we've got what, a month and a half left to just finish it off, and I'm hoping that we can include some of that. And I'd be happy to work with you, Brad, on some of that. Fitting in between everything else that I'm juggling from day to day. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Davis. Brad or Aaron, I don't believe that you need to respond per se, but rather some very sage advice offered by the mayor that can go toward making some final improvements to the report. I noticed that Kim Baker's hand is raised. Kim?
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to offer a point of clarification around the Brantford Downtown Outreach Team. It has been funded now through Health Canada. So St. Leonard's, based on the you know, the great opportunity we had through the city resourcing for the pilot and some of the data that was collected, which was a very helpful point of advocacy, we've received 2 years of Health Canada funding to re-implement Brantford Downtown Outreach Team B.2.0, 2.0, which is launching imminently and will run until March 31st of 2023. So we'll have that period of time to continue to collect data, to evaluate, and to advocate certainly for ongoing health resources, provincial health resources through the local Ontario Health Team, Brantford Brant Ontario Health Team, and also hoping to leverage Brad's favorite word, synergize with some of the security work that's happening in the downtown core, because I think that the pairing of the security team with the health and social service lens will probably have the most positive impact, you know, writ large on some of the issues we're all concerned about.
Thank you very much, Kim. And certainly that will go a long way toward addressing how the inclusion in the report might be framed. So I appreciate that. Okay, at this point, Terry, I've noticed that you have your hand up. Are you hoping to speak? Yes? Okay.
I'll just make this real quick. I would like to see under older adults something mentioned of the initiative by Mr. Carpenter and Mr. Davis and the city on the POA educational classes that they're introducing in Brantford and area. And I think it's a very important subject, and I think it should really be presented to the province as many ways as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, at this point, I keep thinking I'm not seeing any more hands raised, and then a hand will come up. So I just want to double check. Last call here. Is there anybody else who has a point they would like to raise or point of discussion for 4.1? Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. So I will now move on with the recommendation for 4.1. And that is as follows. A, that the City of Brantford Community Safety Wellbeing Plan be received, and B, that the Community and Safety Wellbeing Advisory Committee endorse the City of Brantford Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and that any final comments from the committee be included in the plan, and C, that the City of Brantford Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan be presented to Committee of the Whole for adoption. So may I have a mover for that recommendation? Colleen, thank you very much. Is there any discussion on this statement or recommendation? Mayor Davis?
Thanks again, James. So Brad, this would be, you're hoping then to bring it to Committee of the Whole, which we meet once a month, would be in June, I assume. Is that the idea?
Through the chair, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. We're looking at the June 1st Committee of the Whole meeting, so the June council cycle, yes, which will meet the July 1st deadline for us.
Yeah, and then it goes to council for final approval, and I think that's June.
A few weeks later in June.
Yeah, so the point is this to the committee members, any final comments that you might have, or if you're thinking about this after today, very short time frame to get them in. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Davis. Shall we recommend, Brad, is by Friday going to be enough time for you or not enough?
Yeah, Friday would be be great. Yes, if anything earlier would be better, but yeah, we can take Friday for sure.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so at the absolute latest, we'll say Friday. Councillor Carpenter, I noticed you had your hand up.
Yes, I just want to make sure that we, when it comes to Committee of the Whole and Council, that we recognize all the members on this group and all the committees that we've touched as part of this organization and who's gave us input. If we could make sure we provide that list to Council. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Carpenter. Brad mentioned at the beginning that there is a pretty big opening page with all of our names provided. Were you thinking something beyond that?
Well, that's the committee members, but I think all the organizations that were involved as well.
Understood. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Is there any further discussion on the recommendation? Okay, with that being said, then I do not see any further hands being raised. So I will ask all those in favor of the recommendation, please raise your hand to the camera. Okay. Thank you. All those opposed, please raise your hand to the camera and also confirm verbally. Chief Davis, I'm sorry I missed you there. If you can turn on your phone and say whether you approve or object.
I approve.
Thank you. Any who are opposed, please raise your hand to the camera and state verbally your objection. None noted. The motion has been carried. Thank you. So I'll move on now to section 4.2 very quickly. As the chair of this committee, I really would like to acknowledge all the contributions that have been made by the members who have been present and those who were unable to attend today. Your input coming from your own personal experiences with the City of Brantford, as well as your organization's inputs, have been very valuable to the framing of this report. I would like to observe that having worked with many municipalities in other parts of this country, certainly the willingness of all of the different community leaders in Brantford and their organizations to contribute toward significant efforts like this is really something that is amazing to me and something that I find very refreshing whenever I have the chance to work with the City of Brantford. So I'd like to thank you all. And I'd also like to be sure to thank, pardon me, the Department of Corporate Initiatives, and particularly the work of Brad Smith on designing this report, as well as taking on our all very hectic schedules and finding time to sit down with us and hear our inputs. So this is really a great piece of work, just to echo the comments that have come from other members. Well, with that being said then, moving forward, our next step here for section 4.2 is really, I'd like to make the recommendation then that upon council's adoption, sorry, before I say that, is there any further discussion about how great this report is? None noted. Wonderful. Thank you. So I'll make the recommendation then that upon council's adoption of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, that the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee be disbanded, having completed its mandate, and that a bylaw to amend Chapter 26, which is Boards, Advisory Committees, Duties, and Functions, to the City of Brantford Municipal Code by repealing Section 25 be presented to City Council for adoption. And this is because we have fulfilled those requirements. So that's the recommendation. May I have a mover for that recommendation? Heidi, you were first. Thank you. May I have a seconder? Mayor Davis, thank you. Is there any discussion on that matter? I will jump in and say that this has been one of the easiest committees I've ever had the opportunity to work with, so I appreciate it from all of you. Thank you very much. All in favor, please raise your hand to the camera. Okay. Chief Davis, if you could please state whether you accept or object to this recommendation.
Accept.
Thank you very much. Any who are all opposed, please raise your hand for the camera and then verbally confirm your objection. Wonderful. Thank you very much. The motion has been carried. This moves us on to section 5.1, which are our consent items, and in particular, our minutes from the meeting that was held on the 5th of February, 2021. Are there any discussion or changes to the minutes of the last meeting? Okay, I'm not noting any. Just lost my document here as I was looking at the minutes. With that being the case, then I'd like to make the following recommendation: that the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee minutes of February 5th, 2021 be approved. May I have a mover? Wonderful. Councillor Carpenter. Oh, shoot. I've just lost my whole camera here. Okay. Thank you. And may I have a seconder? Colleen, thank you very much. All in favor, please raise your hand for the camera. Okay. All opposed, please raise your hand for the camera and verbally confirm your objection. Oh, that's not me. Chief Davis, would you mind please just verbally telling us whether you are opposed or in favor of that recommendation?
In favor.
Thank you very much. So this motion has been carried. Moving on with our agenda, section 6, we do not have any resolutions to discuss. 7, there are no notices of motion. So that leaves us with section 9, adjournment. I will say the meeting is now adjourned. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all back in the community shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your services.
Thank you, James.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you. You too.